You up.
It's should be recording. It just said recording in progress.
All right.
So I'm all
Well,
yours, buddy.
first question, or not question, open ended.
Mhm.
Just introduce yourself, where you went to school, where you started work, and where you are now.
My name's Dale Ham. I went to East Carolina University, proud Pirate alumni. Um, Grew up in Smithfield, North Carolina, and graduated with a degree of exercise and sports science from East Carolina. Came back and did my internship at Johnston Health, or UNC Johnston now, at the time was Johnston Memorial Hospital, and did cardiac and pulmonary rehab, then eventually helped open Health Quest Wellness Center, and currently now I'm at the Smithfield Recreation Aquatic Center. I came and helped open this facility in 2009, and yeah, so that's where we are. And did
Now,
a lot of things in between as far as side stuff, but two main jobs.
yeah, with Health Quest, I've never asked you this.
Mhm.
Are they centered around like elderly, or is it centered around like rehab patients?
So how Health Quest was actually, and I got very lucky, is that when I did my internship, you have to do certain projects and responsibility and stuff like that. And my project was actually to see the feasibility of having a wellness center in Johnston County. And
Mm,
so it's kind of like I helped create my own job. So I was doing my internship through cardiopulmonary rehab, and through the internship, did that project. I could at one time could tell you any gym, Parks and Rec, multi-purpose facility that was within about 60 miles of Smithfield, rates, amenities, and all that stuff. And so at that time, across the street, we had an old Burlington. There was a cotton factory,
oh wow.
and it had closed down, and it was directly across the street from the hospital. And up in, God, I can't think of the name. It was in New York, but up in New York, they had converted a mall into like a medical mall.
Oh wow.
But it also, so it had doctor's offices and different services, but it also had a wellness center. And so that was kind of the idea. So we ended up purchasing the old Burlington building. It was about 3 stories, 270,000 square foot total for everything.
Ooh, that's
Yeah, huge building. But we ended up being on the first floor, and we opened a 24,000 yeah, 24,000 square foot wellness center. Um, so, but with that is we got some money from Duke University and these other people. But the reason Duke gave us money is so that we made sure that cardiopulmonary rehab went over into that wellness center.
and were those grants like the grants we previously talked about that you
No,
guys receive?
that was just more of, so at that time, the hospital, again, it was Johnston Memorial. It's not like it is now with
Mm,
UNC, but we did a lot of contract services. So like when I was housed at the hospital doing cardiopulmonary rehab, we actually would have a transfer trailer,
oh
18
wow.
wheeler trailer back up on certain days, and there'd be MRI in there. So we didn't actually have an MRI machine in the hospital at the time. So certain days Duke would drop a trailer off.
Oh my
They would
goodness.
wheel patients out there to have MRIs. And so we had that partnership with Duke at the time. We even so also right outside, there were other days that they would do catheterizations.
Oh man.
So
In that trailer?
in the trailer, yep.
Oh
And
my
you'd be
goodness.
surprised at what it was, but if I had some downtime, I'd just walk outside, and of course I knew all the cardiologists, and I'd watch a catheterization, but it was
Mhm.
done there. Now they couldn't, if there were any anything found, like if somebody needed a stent or angioplasty or anything like that, they couldn't do anything in that trailer. It was just more for diagnosis.
Okay, that makes more sense. Were there any legal hurdles around that?
Not that I'm aware of, because I mean, because and again, it was because our cardiopulmonary rehab program had such a good rapport
Okay. Yeah.
that they wanted to make sure that was part of the wellness center. But the wellness center overall, so we had cardiopulmonary rehab in there. We had a therapy pool in there. So physical therapy, water therapy, they would use that. And we had a 5-lane lap pool, 23 and a half yards. And then of course we had workout areas, massage therapy, dietitian, nutrition services, and things like that. So it was open to the general public, but we did cater to some senior
Now,
populations.
when you made the change from your first position to open up HealthQuest, how did you get, well, I say brainstorming, but how did you brainstorm and come up with ideas of what to put in there? And how did you reach out to companies to put in those facilities? If like if this was the only facility of this kind in the area, and I heard you say you heard about New York, how
Mhm.
did you get those companies to buy into what you guys were trying to push out?
So specifically for the Burlington building is I didn't have to do really anything with the medical mall aspect.
Mhm,
Um, Within the existing building, there was a certain area that, like the pool,
mhm.
we had to have an area for a pool indoor. And so that fit within a certain area of the building. And then the rest of Health Quest kind of evolved around that. Of course, you go to design, architecture, and all that stuff. But really, this will blow your mind, is that prior to '03, which is when Health Quest opened, the only indoor pool in the county was a Super 8 motel.
What?
Yep. Right over there by the pottery. Yep.
Oh my goodness. That's what? That's not even there anymore, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's so if you go by Dwayne's, and Dwayne's is on your left, and
Uh-huh.
on towards like KFC and that stuff,
Mhm.
it's that you go under that bridge, it's that next.
Oh my god, it is still there.
Yeah. But and it was a small pool, but literally that was the only indoor pool. So of course, when
Phew.
we were building our facility, it was definitely the newest thing around and the
Yeah.
biggest thing around. And I think before we even opened the doors, we opened January 15th of 2003. We had probably 2,500 members.
Oh
That's
man.
all pre-memberships. But as far as I'm a huge research person. I
Mhm.
like to know everything that's going on. I like to know how things work. And of course, having that background doing my project and seeing the amenities that other facilities in the area is just come together. And then of course, when you start looking at vendors and equipment vendors, and when you're talking about weight equipment and treadmills and cardios, and you're looking at group fitness, a teaching kitchen, a classroom, massage therapy. Um, yeah, I had to grow a lot because you got to remember at this time I'm 25, 20.
Oh man. That's a lot
Yeah,
at once.
yeah. And I had a very, very good first supervisor or mentor. And she's like a second mom to me, but she actually allowed me to do my thing. She put,
That's good.
yeah, she included me in every meeting. I mean, if it was a design meeting, if it's architect, I helped name it Health Quest. So I mean, I was very fortunate. Of course, I had the working out background and stuff, so obviously I know some equipment vendors and things. But but yeah, it was tough. So at that time when we opened, I went from really not supervising anybody to supervising 29 full-time employees and hiring them.
What kind of managerial style did your first supervisor have? Was it like you said, just relaxed, or was there a little bit more into that?
Um, she was very direct,
Okay.
like, but in a good way. You know,
Like a tough love type way?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that old school way because she would never really. yell at you or get mad or anything like that. But it seemed like everything was a teaching moment. And
Uh,
looking back on it, sometimes she didn't mean, I wouldn't say she meant to, but she allowed me to set myself up to fail. Because you
well,
think about it, I'm 25, 26 years old. I'm supervising adults older than I am
yeah,
and kids that are my age and hiring for the different. And when you're talking about, just a little background, is a massage therapist is, they're a tough group of people
yeah,
in general. And I remember I went through 25 or 26 interviews just to hire one massage therapist at one time, because and this was always my thing. I'd sit in the interview with them and they'd say, "Well, when can I give you a massage?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Well, I always do a massage." I was like, "I don't need a massage." I mean, can you imagine though getting that many massages? I should have taken advantage of it.
yeah. You should, yeah,
Yeah, but I knew they were all certified. But the thing about a massage therapist is that you've got to be comfortable with somebody in a uncomfortable environment.
yeah,
So you got two people, you got a person getting massage and you got a massage therapist in a small room, and one person is very vulnerable with very little clothes on. And you do have that touching and that type of, and to me, I looked at it as how comfortable I could be with that person.
and
So
that's a
that's why you see how many interviews I did. And but that was more of me growing and
mhm.
learning, because like I said, they were used to always having to give massages and stuff. And I'm like, I assume you know how to do a massage. I mean,
That's why you're there.
yeah, I mean, you're interviewing, you're certified, you've been through the classes. I mean, I looked you up on the registry. I mean,
Yeah,
so, and you didn't have any issues, because I wouldn't have brought you in if you did. But anyway, she allowed me to grow on my own. She allowed me to make mistakes, but then we'd come back and talk about them, because my management style is completely, you you and we would have probably butted heads back then, because I
how
was
so?
yeah, just because I was a strong-willed, young, and wanting to show that I could do it. And I made mistakes.
I get that.
And you're always going to make mistakes, but I'm kind of the same manager. I just have learned to sit back a little more.
But I also think that and for claimers to my professor here, I worked part-time with Mr. Ham, for what, about 3 years?
Yeah.
Y
Mhm.
Your style changed a little bit, I could see it, like, over a year and a half, you grow more to, "Hey, let's just do your thing," and then if I were to mess up, like you said in your example of what you did, if you learn by failing,
Yeah, I
that
mean, yeah,
and that's in everything.
yeah.
Failure is the number one thing in life.
Mhm,
You're gonna fail, and there's a lot of times where people got physical, people got vulgar,
mhm.
and you gotta get through it because you're not always gonna be there.
Yep.
And I'm assuming it was the same for you and your supervisor, is there's times where she's not gonna be there, and you've got to put everyone else's interest above you.
Yeah. And
So I could cuss this guy out, but what good does that do me?
that's I think that's the one thing, especially younger, and when you get in that situation, is realizing that you can't react.
Mhm.
You you've really, as a supervisor, you've got to be able to listen. And if you go on your initial reaction, it's going to be wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's going to be worse.
For example, for me personally, you remember this, when that fight broke out with me involved,
Mhm,
and my initial reaction and what you said you would have done if you were my age was
mhm,
beat that guy,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
I couldn't
Mhm,
because everyone there knows I work there.
mhm.
Everyone there knows, well, I don't wanna be cocky, most of the people knew who I was
Yeah.
there, and that wouldn't look good for you, Gary,
Mhm.
nobody.
That's right.
So you have to just bite the bullet and move on and take care of business, which was getting him out.
Yeah. Yep.
And a lot of people today do not do that. Um, but I think your supervising style influenced that decision on me to kind of be like, "Hey, take a step back for a second, because I've seen you get heated sometimes and you just go to your office,
Oh yeah.
but what are you going to your office for? Probably to calm down."
Yeah. Sometimes you got to separate. You've got to handle the situation you're at, but then sometimes you've got to separate yourself from that situation.
Mm,
And and again, and I tell people all the time this, I make the wrong decision every day.
yeah,
Guaranteed. Somebody thinks it's wrong, whether I do or not. But because you can't always say yes,
yeah,
but you don't always say no. But there's some compromise. But even at that compromise, is that as a supervisor, you've got to make the best decision at that time to address that situation or issue based on the information you have. And a lot of times, and us working together, is that a lot of times I'm basing my decision on what information you may have given me
mhm,
or someone else. And I'm gonna be honest, my first reaction would be I've got to support my employees.
mhm,
And I think I've always told y'all that if as long as you know the policies and procedures and you're doing the right thing by that, I'll support you 1,000%. Now,
you said that on day 1.
yeah, and maybe you might have bent the policy a little bit, but usually in front of the members or guests or whatever situation, I'm still going to support you if it's in the right mind frame, and then we'll talk about it later.
Yeah,
But but and I think that's the one thing I learned is in the past, I was more about the policy and procedure, and I didn't necessarily always support that employee to the amount that I do now. And I did, but I was very, it's this way,
yeah,
especially at the hospital, because they're big on policies and procedure. I mean, that's one thing that's completely different between how the town runs and versus a business. And the business is policy, is policy, is policy.
and it could be, well, policy is law, and
Oh,
in most cases, like,
yeah.
the policy is the law.
Yeah. And it is. And so, you learn.
Yeah. Uh, we talked about, failure,
Mhm.
but how do you define success working in your area? What is success to you?
Getting through each day. No, I mean, knowing, and I've been around here forever, is having that impression is that, yeah, the rec center, we've got issues, everybody does. But I do think overall, we have a good reputation and people want to still come here, 16, 17 years later. Because, it's always easy once it's a new thing in town, everybody wants to be part of the new thing. But people still want to come here. And people have been coming here since we've opened. Um, and also feel like we do the right thing. We try to provide the right services and programs and participation numbers. I mean, you're always looking at numbers. You've got to good, better, and different. But yeah, really success. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest, like us talking right here. You've worked with us, for a few years, and just having this opportunity to talk to you about different stuff makes me think that there's something positive coming from the environment that we've created.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And honestly, taking my time from there, I learned so much about connecting,
Mhm.
and I hear so many stories of, "I haven't been here in 10 years, and it still looks great." Like,
Mhm.
just stuff like that. Like, the place sticks with people when you hear them come through the door and they go, "Oh my goodness, this, and that," and I'm like, "Oh, I'll show you around."
Yeah.
Like, it's those connections that help me in college. It helped me at my other job here at Food Lion. It's helped me everywhere. So 100% agree with everything you just said because it that place rubs off on you.
Yeah,
It
and hopefully it does, not just for the employees, but for the members and guests. And, we do a lot of different services for the community and we touch a lot of different lives. You know, just like y'all were, I mean, even when I've been coaching a rec team, those kids are now grown up and now
yeah.
they're adults and, they're utilizing services here. So to me, we've definitely done something right in that respect. Just as much, I mean, I'm sure we've had failures. We know those, but we try not to harp on them, but we got to acknowledge them.
You talked about programs and events, so I'll switch tune to there. How do you decide what programs and events to introduce or to retire? And it could be as simple as numbers.
Um, I actually just had this conversation with an employee yesterday, is that to introduce or implement, the first question is why? Why are we wanting to add a program or add a service or what be it? What are we trying to accomplish from it? So if you give me that answer, if I ask you that and you say, I want to, or I don't know,
Yeah,
you told me we needed to do a program. How successful is that program going to be?
not very because you're
Yeah,
not into
yeah, you're not that, and I like to call them cheerleaders.
it. Mhm.
Um, and nothing to you, but I actually used this question yesterday. As I was like, so if I were to say, Tommy, I'd like for you to do a pottery class program, and I'm setting you up to fail, asking you to do that.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah. But if I did something as saying, Tommy, we'd like to offer a program in basketball, um, dribbling, passing, shooting 2 nights a week from 7 p.m., 9 p.m. Do you think you could help us with that?
Absolutely.
And you would jump into it
Yeah.
because that's something you enjoy, but you have an interest in it. So it really, but then we'd have to look at what the target population is. So that's really when you're looking at programs, why are we doing it? So there's got to be something there. Is that it's a need based off of surveys or our master plan that we have done, or there's a target population that maybe we don't feel like we are reaching.
How do you gather that data?
Well, in Parks and Rec, the one thing is you have to have a updated master plan, which what that is, that's a long process, but you actually you contract out companies that do this. And so when you mentioned about grants earlier.
Mhm.
So let's say that there's a grant come available next week for whatever it is. And if we do not have our Parks and Rec master plan up to date, that can automatically make us unqualified to even apply for that grant.
Phew.
So we have to keep our master plan. I think it's up every 7 years. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's every 7 years we have to keep that updated. And what they do is they take the demographics of our area, Smithfield,
Mhm.
and they'll send them questionnaires. They'll have community meetings at different places, and they're looking for that information or that interest level or what needs are. And it's not just at the rec center, but it's like for parks or programs, or it could be that people think we need a new river. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be everything. We need places to fish, you know. Um, but that helps us. And then if we're looking for grants that are especially highlighted on that master plan, then that gives us more opportunity for grants and monies. But anyway, but with that master plan, it also talks about programs and stuff. So it might say that based off the data that we got, is that we need more senior citizen programming. And so that kind of opens it up for us to look at those programs. And, again, everything's about research. You say, you don't ever if the wheel's not broken, don't mess with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it is staying up to date on the trends. And, you know, I'm sure you remember a few years ago, Zumba, you'd have 30 people in the class. And now it's slowed down a little bit, but I mean, everything goes in trends. So if that,
Pickleball.
yeah, pickleball. So that kind of helped the first part of your question. The second part of that is you've got to look at data when you're looking at retiring it. And that's the one thing we're going through right now is because, and actually it came out in our master plan, because you send them all the programs that you offer and when you offer them. And that was the one thing we've got to do a better job is we've got to start retiring programs and either not offer as many programs, because I'm sure you've seen some of the programs. You're familiar with our facility enough to know that some of them we don't have participation,
Mm-hmm.
but we're still offering them. Maybe we have a little bit of participation, but we're still offering them. So again, everything goes in trends, and you've got to be able to look at that data. And we had that whole, when we do a program, you know, you got program implementation, marketing, program registration, program start date, program, you know, mid program, end of program. At the end of the end program, you've got to get a survey out because you got to get that feedback and you got to put it in their hands. And we got to take that feedback. One, we got to look at participation numbers. I always say numbers don't lie.
No, they don't.
But hold on a minute. I think can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. I got a bad cord and it just started buzzing. But we just got to do a better job of it because a lot of times we get stuck in those ruts that, well, it's something we've always done. And I'll give you this great example is like right now. So a couple years ago, football, you know, we have rookie, JV, and varsity football.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a couple years back, even prior to COVID, we only had like JV. So we didn't have
Really?
any rookie or varsity football, which was like 10U. No,
Oh,
yeah, 10U. Varsity would be 12U, JV would be 10U, and then rookie at 8U. But we only had like JV, which was 10U. Well, at that same time, lacrosse started coming out.
mm-hmm.
And as you know, Smithfield's changing a lot. So just because we always offered football in the fall, we may need to start looking at what else we can offer in the fall because we're missing people if we continue to offer the same thing and not having participation. But to bring that back up is football has really taken off now.
Yeah.
So, and again, you run into trends and stuff, but yeah, honestly, you got to look at the numbers, you got to look at participation, you look at the feedback, surveys. That's a huge thing.
How much response do you get from those?
If you can get a 25 to 30%, that's a really good response.
Yeah.
The one thing we've done differently is we don't use like Survey Monkey or anything like that. We will use Google Docs occasionally, but honestly, the best thing is that while they're there, try to put a survey in their hand.
Yeah.
And if you can give them to them in person right then and just say, hey, you can just drop it off at that box or whatever, you usually can get more responses. But, you know, I have a lot of people have a perspective that they're only going to write the negative things.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You need to hear some of that too.
Any feedback is good feedback.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, because you may think the program's awesome, but the surveys and feedback saying something different. And then you can base that off the percentage that you put out. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with negative feedback.
All right. We have a time constraint because the 10-minute warning came up about
Okay.
4 minutes ago. I got one last question.
Okay.
Uh,
You know, I talk.
no, you're good. Honestly, I'm glad it went the distance because that helps me get a good grade.
Yeah, you're fine.
Thank you, Professor Schaefer.
Yeah, give him a good grade, please, Professor.
what
Good
are
kid.
what are the most critical skills needed to be a successful manager in your line of work? Example, if you had to train someone to replace you in your current job, what key skills and abilities would you focus on?
be a good listener, and don't be hesitant to ask questions,
Yeah.
because again, I'm never right every day.
Yeah.
I'm always making the wrong decisions. But again, I'm making those decisions based on the information I have from other employees or coworkers. And if I don't ask my coworkers or my employees information, then how can I address any issues, concerns, or make decisions? So you've got to be a good listener, but you've also got to get to know your staff. If you don't know your staff, they're not going to be as open with you.
Mhm.
And communication flows two ways. If it ever just flows one way,
You
that's
got
when
a
you're
problem.
going around the issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how I always use the example is that, speed bumps are okay in a relationship or dealing with issues, because you can handle those and address them at that time.
Mhm.
But when you don't address those speed bumps and they turn into hills or mountains, that's when they become a big issue. That could be whether it be employees or members or guests or coworkers. But if they're go ahead and addressed at that time, is that sometimes those mountains coming off the backside of that mountain coming down can be just as hard as going up.
Yeah.
The fallout after it. So, and I'm sure you're well aware, I can be known as being very direct,
Mhm.
but it's being honest, and it's not personal, it's professional. Um, but I've got to address those at the time. And if I procrastinate and I put it off, then I'm just adding to that hill.
You're 100% right. And the two things, and honestly, the two answers I was looking for there was listening and asking questions.
Mhm.
Because that's one and two of what I hear in about every class.
Hold on one
Um,
second, Tony.
you're good.
There you go. Say it again. I'm sorry.
Those are the 2 points that I hear from every professor, in the one of the classes I'm in now is just, like, social media marketing, I think.
Mm.
Um, the number one thing we covered for over a month was social listening,
Oh God, yeah.
and it was pretty much like surveys and stuff, like and there was a business up here, it was a restaurant, and one of his group for in his class was doing this company, and it came out that they found a Reddit form or forum, whatever you call it,
Mhm.
and it had a bunch of allegations against the owner.
Wow.
And he asked the professor, "Hey, do I give this out and whatnot?" And he was like, "Yeah, you do." I said, "You go to him and you tell him, hey, this is online. This
Mhm.
is what people think of you." And they're not open anymore.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, but you do, and I think that's when we were talking about going back to that information is, and you said it, is that any feedback is good.
Yeah.
And but you've got to be able to acknowledge the negative
Mhm.
and either address it or ignore it. And I don't believe you ignore it, because there has to be something there, at least in their mind. So remember, everybody has their own perception. And you could think it's great, but if their perception is negative, and again, that goes back to asking the question, is the why.
Yeah.
Is okay, why do you believe that? Or why do you accept that? Or, the why is the biggest part. I guess I was always that kid, and that, your parents say something and say, why?
Yeah.
It's not that I won't do it. I just want to know why. I always tell people I could never be in a gang or a mafia or anything like that, because they say, go whack this guy. And I'm like, hold on now.
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying I won't do it or what we need to do, but give me something. I'm just not going to go do something because you tell me to. And that's not being, you know, it's not dereliction of duty if I'm saying I won't. It's just I'm asking why. And then I'm just, explain it to me. And then I'll go do it.
Well,
But hey, Did that answer? I mean,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
That
So,
was great. Thank you.
well, good. Well, good. Well,
Um, that's it for me. Um, just to let you know, I'm interviewing Jeff as well,
who?
Jeffrey.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I don't know, I knew a little bit more about you, and I was able to tie these questions in a little bit
Mhm.
better, but him, I'm kinda nervous about it because I don't want it to be awkward.
Just, just, do you want me to stop recording now or?
Yeah, you can. I think it's about to end in 15 seconds. Do you wanna call?
Well, no, real quick, I'm stopping it.